The galactic conquerors arrive. The vast expanse of space had long been conquered by the Zirconian Empire, a highly advanced alien civilization that had subjugated countless worlds across the galaxy. Their technological superiority was unmatched, with weapons capable of destroying entire planets and defensive systems that could withstand the force of a supernova. War, for the Zirconians, had become nothing more than a calculated exercise in resource management. As their massive warships entered Earth's solar system, Admiral Vexthor stood on the bridge of the flagship, his 6 eyes narrowing as he gazed at the blue planet on the view screen. Earth was but a speck in the grand tapestry of their conquests, barely worth noting in the annals of their history. Another primitive world, Vexthor mused, his voice a low rumble that reverberated through the command center. Prepare the standard observation protocols. We'll study their defenses, such as they are, before deciding if this rock is even worth the effort of conquest. The Zirconian soldiers, encased in their near-impenetrable exo-armor, began their surveillance of Earth. They intercepted communications, analyzed military capabilities, and observed the daily lives of humans. What they saw both amused and baffled them. In a training facility in Moscow, Sergeant Yelena Petrova was leading a group of Special Forces operatives through an intense Krav Maga session. The aliens watched with a mixture of curiosity and disdain as the humans grappled, struck, and countered each other with fierce determination. "Commander," one of the alien observers reported, "the humans appear to be engaging in some form of ritualized combat. They're touching each other, striking with their appendages. It's barbaric." Commander Zaltek, a veteran of 100 campaigns, couldn't contain his laughter. "You mean to tell me they still fight with their bare hands? How quaint. Show me more of this primitive display." As the aliens continued to observe, they saw similar scenes playing out across the globe. In a dojo in Tokyo, judo practitioners threw each other to the mat with practiced precision. In a gym in Rio de Janeiro, Brazilian jiu-jitsu fighters grappled on the ground, seeking submissions. In a military base in Israel, soldiers drilled Krav Maga techniques with ruthless efficiency. "It's the same everywhere," Zaltek noted, his amusement growing. "These humans put so much effort into learning how to fight without weapons. Don't they realize how futile it is against superior technology?" Back on the flagship, Admiral Vexthor reviewed the reports with growing disdain. Their most advanced weapons are crude projectile launchers and primitive nuclear devices. Their space exploration capabilities are laughable. And now we see they still train in hand-to-hand combat, as if it has any relevance in modern warfare. The Admiral's second-in-command, Sub-Commander Erixa, ventured a question. "Sir, should we perhaps study these combat techniques more closely? There might be something we're missing." Vexthor dismissed the idea with a wave of his upper limb. "Nonsense. These are the desperate actions of a species that knows it's outmatched. They cling to outdated methods because they have nothing else. Our exo-armor can withstand their strongest weapons. What possible threat could their bare hands pose?" As if to emphasize his point, Vexthor pulled up footage of a Krav Maga class in Tel Aviv. The instructor, a compact, muscular woman named Adina Levin, was demonstrating a series of rapid strikes to vulnerable areas of the body. "Look at this," Vexthor scoffed. "They target the eyes, the throat, the groin. As if our soldiers would ever be in a position where such attacks could reach them. It's almost endearing how hard they're trying." The alien officers gathered around the display, chuckling at the humans' efforts. They watched as Adina took down a much larger opponent, using leverage and technique to compensate for the difference in size and strength. "I almost want to face one of them myself," boasted Zaltek, "just to see the look on their face when they realize how useless their skills are against us." As the Zirconians continued their surveillance, they remained blissfully unaware of the fatal flaw in their assessment. Their confidence in their technology had blinded them to the potential of the human spirit and the effectiveness of close-quarters combat in the right circumstances. On Earth, oblivious to the alien eyes watching them, the practitioners of Krav Maga and other martial arts continued their training. Adine 11, finishing her class in Tel Aviv, felt a strange shiver run down her spine, as if she were being watched. She shook off the feeling and focused on her students. "Remember," she told them, her voice fierce with conviction, "Krav Maga isn't about looking good or winning tournaments. It's about surviving. It's about facing a bigger, stronger opponent and coming out alive. No matter what you face, no matter how overwhelming the odds, you have the tools to survive. Never forget that." Little did Adina know how prophetic her words would prove to be. As the Zarkonian fleet loomed in the darkness of space, Earth's defenders continued to hone their skills, preparing for a confrontation they couldn't yet imagine. The aliens' laughter would soon turn to disbelief, then fear, as they learned the hard way that sometimes the most primitive techniques could overcome the most advanced technology. The stage was set for a conflict that would challenge both humans and Zarkonians in ways neither could predict. As Earth spun peacefully below, blissfully unaware of the threat that loomed above, the countdown to invasion had begun. The true test of humanity's fighting spirit was about to begin, and the galaxy would never be the same. The invasion begins. The skies over Earth's major cities darkened as the Zarkonian warships descended through the atmosphere. Their massive forms blotted out the sun, casting ominous shadows over the panicking populace below. Air raid sirens wailed, and emergency broadcasts crackled across every available frequency, urging people to seek shelter. Admiral Vexthor stood at the command center of his flagship, a smug expression on his face as he watched the chaos unfold on the planet below. "Begin the first wave," he ordered, his voice cold and detached. "Let's see how these humans fare against true power." The initial assault was devastating. Energy beams lanced down from the alien ships, effortlessly slicing through Earth's most fortified military installations. Tanks and fighter jets, humanity's pride in warfare, were swatted aside like insects. The world's nuclear arsenals, launched in desperation, were neutralized mid-flight by the Zarkonians' advanced defense systems. In Washington, D.C., General Marcus Hawthorne of the U.S. Joint Chiefs of Staff stared in disbelief at the reports flooding in from around the globe. "This can't be happening," he muttered, his face ashen. "We're throwing everything we have at them, and it's not even making a dent." As the alien ground forces began to deploy, the true horror of the invasion became apparent. Zarkonian soldiers, encased in their gleaming exo-armor, strode through hails of bullets unscathed. They moved with terrifying speed and precision, their energy weapons cutting down human resistance with ease. In the streets of London, a group of Royal Marines found themselves cornered by a squad of alien troops. Despite their training and advanced weaponry, the Marines' bullets bounced harmlessly off the Zarkonian armor. In a matter of minutes, the entire platoon was wiped out, without a single alien casualty. Similar scenes played out across the globe. In Moscow, the vaunted Russian special forces were overwhelmed. In Beijing, the People's Liberation Army's vast numbers proved meaningless against the invaders' superior technology. It seemed that humanity's military might, built up over centuries of conflict and innovation, was utterly useless against this new threat. As the carnage continued, Admiral Vexthor allowed himself a moment of satisfaction. "You see," he gloated to his officers, "their primitive weapons are no match for us. Their strategy is laughable. Where is their vaunted hand-to-hand combat now?" But even as the Admiral celebrated his apparent victory, pockets of effective resistance were beginning to form. In Tel Aviv, Adine 11, the Krav Maga instructor we met earlier, found herself in the midst of the chaos. As alien soldiers advanced through the city streets, she rallied a group of her students and fellow martial artists. "Listen to me," she shouted over the sound of distant explosions. "Our weapons might not hurt them, but that doesn't mean we're helpless. We need to get in close, find weak points in their armor. We've trained for this, to face overwhelming odds, to survive against all hope. Now it's time to put that training to use." In Rio de Janeiro, João Silva, a renowned Brazilian jiu-jitsu black belt, had come to a similar conclusion. As he helped evacuate civilians from the besieged city, he noticed something about the alien soldiers' movements. "Their armor," he muttered to himself. "It's incredibly strong, but it limits their flexibility. If we can get them on the ground." Meanwhile, in Tokyo, Hiroshi Tanaka, a veteran judoka and member of Japan's self-defense forces, was frantically coordinating with his superiors. "Our conventional weapons are useless," he reported, "but I have an idea. We need to assemble a team of our best martial artists. Judoka, karateka, sumo wrestlers, anyone with grappling and close combat skills." As these pockets of resistance began to form, the Zarkonians remained oblivious to the threat. Their initial success had only reinforced their belief in their own invincibility. Zaltek, leading a group of soldiers through the ruins of Paris, laughed as he casually vaporized a group of French Foreign Legion troops attempting to ambush them. "This is almost too easy," he boasted over the comlink. "These humans are pathetic. They can't even scratch our armor, let alone pose a real threat." But Zaltek's overconfidence was about to be shaken. As his squad rounded a corner, they found themselves face to face with a group of civilians. The alien commander raised his weapon, expecting the humans to flee in terror. Instead, to his shock, they charged forward. Leading the group was Marie Dubois, a former French Special Forces operative and expert in civet, the French kickboxing martial art. She had quickly recognized that conventional tactics wouldn't work against these invaders. As Zaltek's weapon charged up, Marie closed the distance with lightning speed. Before the alien could react, Marie had slipped inside his guard. Her hands, hardened by years of training, found the small gaps in the alien's armor at the joints. With precision born of countless hours of practice, she struck at the vulnerable points, using leverage and technique to overcome the alien's superior strength. Zaltek's world exploded in pain. For the first time since the invasion began, a Zarkonian soldier found himself truly threatened by a human. As he struggled to bring his weapon to bear, Marie's companions swarmed the other aliens, targeting weak points and using their environment to their advantage. The skirmish was over in minutes. Zaltek and his squad lay on the ground, their armor breached in key locations, their bodies broken by strikes they had never anticipated. As Marie and her group melted back into the ruins of the city, the alien commander managed to activate his emergency beacon. Back on the flagship, Admiral Vexthor received the distress signal with disbelief. "Impossible," he snarled. "How could a group of unarmed humans defeat our soldiers? This must be a mistake." But it wasn't a mistake. As reports began to trickle in from around the globe, a pattern emerged. Small groups of humans, trained in various martial arts and close combat techniques, were finding ways to effectively engage the Zarkonian troops. While still vastly outnumbered and outgunned, these fighters were proving that humanity wasn't as defenseless as the aliens had assumed. In New York City, a team of mixed martial arts fighters managed to ambush and disable a Zarkonian patrol. In Cape Town, a group led by a Zulu stick-fighting master successfully defended a refugee center from alien attack. And in the mountains of Afghanistan, local warriors using ancient hand-to-hand combat techniques passed down through generations managed to capture an alien outpost. As news of these successes spread, a spark of hope began to ignite among the beleaguered human population. The Zarkonians, for the first time, faced an enemy that refused to be cowed by their technological superiority. Admiral Vexthor, his earlier confidence shaken, gathered his top commanders. "This is an unforeseen development," he admitted grudgingly. "These humans are more resourceful than we anticipated. We need to adapt our strategy." But even as the Zarkonians began to reassess their approach, the human resistance was growing stronger. Adin 11 in Tel Aviv, Joao Silva in Rio, Hiroshi Tanaka in Tokyo, and countless others around the world were beginning to coordinate their efforts. They were sharing techniques, developing new strategies to combat the alien threat. The invasion had begun with the Zarkonians confident in their easy victory. Now, as the first day of combat drew to a close, that confidence was eroding. The battle for Earth was far from over, and humanity, with its indomitable spirit and unexpected fighting skills, was proving to be a far more formidable opponent than anyone could have imagined. As the sun set on a world forever changed, both humans and aliens prepared for what was to come. The Zarkonians, with their advanced technology and overwhelming firepower, still held the upper hand. But humanity had found a glimmer of hope in the most unexpected place, the ancient art of hand-to-hand combat. The true test of survival was just beginning. Turning the tide. As dawn broke on the second day of the invasion, the world was a drastically different place. Smoke rose from the ruins of once great cities, and the Zarkonian warships still loomed ominously in the skies. But amidst the devastation, a new hope was spreading like wildfire. Reports of successful human resistance had galvanized the global population. From the ashes of defeat, a new strategy was emerging, one that relied not on advanced weaponry, but on the age-old human arts of close combat. In Tel Aviv, Adina Levin had transformed her Krav Maga studio into a makeshift command center. Surrounded by a diverse group of fighters from various martial arts backgrounds, she pored over maps and intelligence reports. "We've confirmed what we suspected," Adina announced to the assembled group. "The alien armor has weak points at the joints and around sensory inputs. If we can exploit these vulnerabilities, we can take them down." João Silva, who had managed to make his way from Rio de Janeiro, nodded in agreement. "Their armor limits their mobility on the ground. If we can get them off balance, my BJJ techniques can be adapted to immobilize them." Hiroshi Tanaka, joining via Apache video link from Tokyo, added his insights. "We've had success using judo throws to slam them into hard surfaces. The impact can disrupt their systems momentarily, giving us an opening." As the resistance leaders shared information and strategies, a global network began to form. Martial artists, combat sports athletes, and military hand-to-hand combat experts from around the world joined forces, creating an unprecedented coalition of fighters. Meanwhile, the Zarkonians were struggling to adapt to this unexpected turn of events. Admiral Vexthor, his earlier arrogance replaced by grudging respect, addressed his officers. "These humans have proven more resourceful than anticipated," he admitted. "We must adjust our tactics, increase ranged attacks, maintain distance from human combatants at all costs." But the Admiral's orders came too late for many Zarkonian ground forces. Across the globe, specially trained human strike teams were already putting their new strategies into action. In the heart of London, a mixed team of SAS operatives and martial arts experts launched a daring raid on a Zarkonian command post. Led by Emma Blackwood, a former MMA champion turned special forces instructor, the team moved with silent efficiency through the ruins of the city. As they approached the alien stronghold, Emma signaled for the team to halt. "Remember," she whispered, "work in pairs. Distract, then dismantle. Just like we practiced." The team sprang into action. Using Parker techniques, they scaled the walls of the command post, catching the alien guards by surprise. Emma herself took on two Zarkonian soldiers, her movements a blur of Muay Thai strikes and judo throws. The aliens, caught off guard by the speed and precision of the attack, struggled to bring their advanced weapons to bear. By the time they realized the threat, it was too late. Emma's team had breached their defenses, targeting weak points with brutal efficiency. Within minutes, the command post was under human control. As her team secured the area and began to gather intel, Emma allowed herself a grim smile. "Send word to command," she ordered. "Operation Achilles' Heel is a success." Similar scenes played out across the globe. In Moscow, a team of Sambo experts infiltrated a Zarkonian supply depot. In Nairobi, Kenyan special forces, using a mixture of traditional African wrestling techniques and modern combat skills, reclaimed a strategic airfield. Each victory, no matter how small, was a powerful morale boost for the human resistance. More importantly, every successful operation yielded valuable intelligence and captured alien technology. Back in the Zarkonian flagship, Admiral Vexthor received the reports of these losses with growing concern. "How is this possible?" he raged. "How can these primitives be defeating our superior forces?" His second-in-command, Arixa, ventured a response. "Sir, it appears we severely underestimated the effectiveness of their close combat techniques. Our soldiers are trained to rely on their technology, not their physical abilities. In close quarters, this is proving to be a significant weakness." Vexthor's expression darkened. "Then we must deny them the opportunity for close combat. Intensify orbital bombardment. Destroy their cities, their strongholds. Force them into the open where our superior range and firepower can prevail." As the Zarkonians adjusted their strategy, the human resistance braced for a new onslaught. But they too had been evolving their tactics. In a hidden bunker beneath the Rocky Mountains, General Hawthorne met with a team of scientists and engineers. Before them lay the fruits of their recent victories, captured pieces of Zarkonian technology. "What have you found?" Hawthorne asked, his voice tense with anticipation. Dr. Yuki Tanaka, a brilliant roboticist and the sister of Hiroshi Tanaka, stepped forward. "We've made a breakthrough, General. The alien armor isn't just protective. It's an exoskeleton that enhances their physical abilities, but it has a fatal flaw." She pointed to a holographic display showing the inner workings of the Zarkonian armor. "The system is optimized for their alien physiology. It actually inhibits the kind of quick, unpredictable movements that human martial artists specialize in. More importantly, we think we can adapt this technology to work with human bodies." Hawthorne's eyes widened as he grasped the implications. "You mean?" Dr. Tanaka nodded, a fierce glint in her eye. "Yes, General. We're going to turn their own technology against them. Imagine our best fighters, enhanced by modified versions of these exosuits. They'll have the strength and durability of the Zarkonians, combined with the speed and adaptability of human martial arts." As the scientists and engineers set to work, the news of this potential game-changer spread through the resistance network. Hope, which had been a flickering flame, now burned brighter than ever. In Tel Aviv, Adina Levin received the news with grim satisfaction. "This could be what we need to take the fight to them," she told her team. "But remember, technology alone won't save us. It's our skill, our adaptability, our indomitable spirit that's gotten us this far, and it's what will see us through to victory." As the third day of the invasion dawned, both sides prepared for the next phase of the conflict. The Zarkonians, their initial confidence shattered, now faced an enemy they were only beginning to understand. Humanity, battered but unbroken, stood ready to defend their home with every weapon at their disposal, from the most advanced alien technology to the most primitive and effective combat techniques. The battle for Earth was far from over, but for the first time since the invasion began, the tide was beginning to turn. Copyright Cantoon Eat It certainly. I'll continue with Part 4 of the story. Part 4. The Battle for Earth. As the conflict entered its second week, the face of the war had changed dramatically. The initial shock of the Zarkonian invasion had given way to a grueling, planet-wide struggle for survival. Humanity, once on the brink of defeat, had rallied in ways that astounded even their alien opponents. In orbit, the massive Zarkonian warships continued their relentless bombardment of Earth's surface, trying to flush out the human resistance. But for every city they leveled, for every military base they destroyed, new pockets of resistance sprang up in the most unlikely places. Deep in the Amazon rainforest, a coalition of indigenous warriors and special forces operators had established a hidden base of operations. Led by Rayoni, a Kayapo tribal leader and expert in traditional hunting techniques, they launched guerrilla attacks on Zarkonian patrols, using the dense jungle to their advantage. "Our ancestors have lived in harmony with this forest for thousands of years," Rayoni told his diverse team. "Now we will teach these invaders the price of disturbing that harmony." Their tactics were devastatingly effective. Using blowguns loaded with darts tipped with a neurotoxin derived from native plants, they were able to penetrate the weak points in the Zarkonian armor. The aliens, unfamiliar with the terrain and unable to track their silent, swift attackers, suffered heavy losses. Meanwhile, in the urban warrens of Tokyo, Hiroshi Tanaka had formed an unlikely alliance. Working alongside Yakuza enforcers and sumo wrestlers, his team had perfected urban combat techniques that turned the city's narrow alleys and crowded buildings into deadly traps for the invaders. In close quarters, their size and armor work against them. Hiroshi explained to a group of new recruits, "We use their momentum against them, just as in judo. When they expect us to retreat, we advance. When they advance, we redirect their energy to our advantage." Across the globe, similar scenes played out. In the Highlands of Scotland, a group led by Aileen MacDonald, a champion in Scottish backhold wrestling, used the rugged terrain to ambush and overwhelm Zarkonian scouting parties. In the bustling markets of Marrakesh, Moroccan special forces blended ancient Berber fighting techniques with modern tactical training to wage a shadow war against the occupiers. But the true game changer came in the form of the adapted Zarkonian exosuits. Dr. Yuki Tanaka and her team had worked tirelessly to modify the alien technology for human use. The results were nothing short of revolutionary. In a secure facility beneath the ruins of Geneva, the first squad of enhanced human fighters prepared for their inaugural mission. Adine 11, chosen to lead this elite team, helped her soldiers adjust to their new armor. "Remember," she cautioned, "these suits enhance your strength and speed, but your true power lies in your training, your adaptability, and your human spirit. The Zarkonians rely on their technology. We use it, but we don't depend on it." As the squad moved out, their movements were a perfect fusion of advanced technology and honed martial skill. They moved with inhuman speed and grace, yet retained the unpredictability and creativity that had proven so effective against the alien invaders. Their first target was a major Zarkonian supply depot outside the ruins of Berlin. As they approached, the alien defenders detected them and opened fire with their energy weapons. But instead of seeking cover, the human squad charged forward, their adapted armor deflecting the blasts. Adina led the charge, her movements a blur of Krav Maga strikes enhanced by the power of the exosuit. She closed the distance to the nearest Zarkonian before it could react, her augmented strength allowing her to tear through its armor with terrifying ease. The rest of the squad followed suit, each fighter combining their unique martial arts background with the capabilities of their new armor. João Silva, his Brazilian jiu-jitsu skills, amplified by the suit's strength, grappled a Zarkonian to the ground and dismantled its armor joint by joint. Emma Blackwood, her MMA experience proving invaluable, switched between striking and grappling with fluid grace, overwhelming alien after alien. The battle was over in minutes. The Zarkonian depot, once considered impregnable, had fallen to a handful of enhanced human fighters. As Adina's team secured the area and prepared to extract valuable intelligence and resources, she sent a message to Resistance headquarters. Operation Trojan Horse successful. The tide has turned. News of this victory spread like wildfire through the human resistance. More importantly, it sent shockwaves through the Zarkonian command. For the first time since the invasion began, the aliens faced an enemy that could match and even exceed their technological advantages. Aboard his flagship, Admiral Vexthor received the reports with a mixture of disbelief and growing dread. "They've adapted our technology," he murmured, his voice hollow. "And they've combined it with their primitive combat skills to create something we're not prepared for." His second-in-command, Erixa, voiced the fear that was growing among the Zarkonian forces. "Admiral, perhaps we should consider withdrawing. This planet, these humans, they're unlike anything we've ever encountered." But Vexthor's eyes hardened with determination. "No," he growled, "we've come too far to retreat now. If these humans want a true battle, We'll give them one they'll never forget. Prepare for full planetary assault. We'll crush their resistance once and for all." As the Zarkonian fleet repositioned for an all-out attack, the human resistance braced for the fight of their lives. In hidden bases and ruined cities across the globe, fighters donned their adapted armor and prepared for battle. The greatest test of humanity's skill, adaptability, and indomitable spirit was about to begin. Adine 11, standing with her team atop a hill overlooking the ruins of Berlin, watched as the sky darkened with approaching Zarkonian ships. She turned to her squad, her eyes gleaming with fierce determination. "This is it," she said, her voice carrying to every member of her team. "Everything we've fought for, everything we've lost and gained, has led to this moment. We are the last line of defense for our home, our families, our very species. But remember this, we have something the Zarkonians will never understand. We have the spirit of every warrior, every fighter, every survivor who came before us. Now, let's show these aliens what it truly means to be human." As one, the squad activated their armor, the advanced technology humming to life. In that moment, they stood as the pinnacle of human achievement, the perfect fusion of ancient martial skill and futuristic technology. As the first wave of Zarkonian troops descended from the sky, Adina and her team charged forward, ready to meet their destiny. The final battle for Earth had begun. Victory and aftermath. The sky burned with the fury of 1,000 suns as the Zarkonian fleet unleashed its full might upon the Earth. Energy beams lanced down from orbiting warships, while swarms of fighter craft darkened the skies. It was meant to be the final, crushing blow to human resistance. Instead, it became the stage for humanity's finest hour. Across the globe, enhanced human fighters rose to meet the challenge. In the ruins of New York City, a team led by Emma Blackwood used the shattered skyscrapers as a vertical battlefield, ambushing Zarkonian dropships with a dizzying display of parkour and close-quarters combat. The aliens, expecting to find cowering survivors, instead met an enemy that turned the urban wasteland into a deadly maze. In the vast steppes of Mongolia, a coalition of wrestlers and nomadic hunters, their traditional skills enhanced by adapted exosuits, lured Zarkonian ground forces into a series of devastating ambushes. The aliens' advanced sensors, calibrated for high-tech threats, proved nearly useless against an enemy that moved like the wind and struck with the force of a meteor. But the true turning point came in the skies above what was once Geneva. Dr. Yuki Tanaka, working with a team of the world's best pilots and martial artists, had developed a revolutionary approach to aerial combat. Combining the adapted exosuits with experimental aircraft, they created fighters that blurred the line between pilot and plane. Joao Silva, strapped into one of these hybrid craft, found himself engaging the Zarkonian battlecruiser. His plane moved with the fluidity of a jiu-jitsu practitioner, rolling and weaving through enemy fire. As he closed in, Joao ejected, his exosuit allowing him to survive in the thin upper atmosphere. With a move that would have been impossible for any conventional pilot, he grappled onto the alien ship's hull. "Let's see how well you fight in Zero," Joao muttered as he began to systematically dismantle the cruiser's external weapons. His actions, replicated by dozens of other hybrid fighters, turned the tide of the aerial battle. For the first time, the Zarkonian fleet found itself outmaneuvered and outfought in their own element. On the ground, Adine 11 led the charge towards the Zarkonian Central Command Post. Her team moved with preternatural speed and coordination, their Krav Maga techniques amplified by their advanced armor. They tore through alien defenses like a hot knife through butter, pushing ever closer to the heart of the invasion force. As the battle raged across every continent and in the skies above, Admiral Vex Thor watched with growing horror from his flagship. "This is impossible," he growled, his composure finally cracking. "How can they be defeating us? We have superior numbers, superior technology." Erixa, watching the tactical displays with a mix of fear and awe, finally understood. "It's not about the technology, Admiral," she said softly. It's their spirit, their adaptability, their sheer, unbreakable will to survive. We never stood a chance. Just then, alarms blared throughout the flagship. Adine 11 and her team had breached the final defenses and were storming the command center. The admiral turned to face the invaders, drawing his sidearm in a last futile gesture of defiance. Adina disabled him with a lightning-fast series of strikes, her enhanced strength crumpling his armor like paper. As Vex Thor fell to his knees, Adina stood over him, her helmet retracting to reveal her face. "Your invasion is over," she declared, her voice carrying the weight of every human who had fought and died in this war. "Earth is, and always will be, ours." With the capture of Admiral Vex Thor and the fall of the Zarkonian command structure, the alien forces quickly crumbled. Some fought to the bitter end, but many surrendered, realizing the futility of their mission. Within days, the skies above Earth were clear of alien ships for the first time in weeks. As the dust settled and humanity began to assess the aftermath of the invasion, the true cost became clear. Cities lay in ruins, millions had perished, and the scars of the conflict would take generations to heal. But amidst the devastation, a new sense of unity and purpose had emerged. In the months that followed, the adapted Zarkonian technology was repurposed for peaceful means. The exosuits that had turned the tide of the war now helped in the massive reconstruction efforts. Dr. Yuki Tanaka led a global initiative to blend this advanced tech with Earth's diverse martial arts traditions, creating a new form of human enhancement that emphasized balance, discipline, and harmony with nature. The captured Zarkonians, including Admiral Vex Thor, were treated not as prisoners but as reluctant guests. Through cultural exchange programs, they began to learn about the complexity and richness of human cultures. Many were particularly fascinated by the martial arts that had proven so effective against them, with some even beginning to train alongside human instructors. Adine 11, hailed as one of the great heroes of the war, turned her attention to teaching. She established a global academy that combined advanced technology training with traditional martial arts, emphasizing the importance of balancing physical skills with mental discipline and ethical considerations. "We won this war not just with our fists or our technology," she often told her students, "but with our hearts and minds. We must never forget the lessons we've learned about the strength found in diversity, adaptability, and the indomitable human spirit." As Earth rebuilt and looked to the stars once more, it did so not with fear of what lay beyond, but with confidence in its ability to face any challenge. The Zarkonian invasion, for all its devastation, had unlocked humanity's true potential. In the end, the very skills the aliens had once mocked, the ancient traditions of hand-to-hand combat, the human capacity for adaptation and creativity, had proven to be the key to victory. Earth had not just survived. It had emerged stronger, more united, and ready to take its place among the stars. As the first joint human-Zarkonian expedition prepared to explore the galaxy, seeking peaceful contact with other civilizations, Joao Silva, now a diplomat as well as a warrior, reflected on how far they had come. "We thought we were fighting to defend our world," he mused, watching the starship prepare for launch. "But in reality, we were fighting for something much greater, the chance to show the universe the true strength of the human spirit." And with that, humanity stepped forward into a new era, forever changed by the war that had almost destroyed them, yet ultimately revealed their greatest strengths. The universe would never be the same again.